Did you know that after 40, women can start to lose 1 to 2% of muscle mass every year? This means that everyday activities like carrying your groceries, climbing stairs, or even just staying active on vacation can start to feel harder over time. But here's the thing, you don't have to let that be your future. Welcome to Healthy Habits Stronger You. I'm Katie, and I help women over 40 cut through the noise, build habits that stick, and get stronger with simple, sustainable strategies for movement, nutrition, and mindset. In this video, I'm going to show you why muscle and bone strength is so important, what happens to it as we age, as we get into our 40s and beyond, and why strength training is the number one tool that you have in your toolbox to be able to combat the age-related decline in muscle and bone mass and ways that you can get started even if you're completely new to strength training. So let's take a minute to talk about why muscle is so important. So the number one thing that we hear a lot about our muscle is specifically related to the metabolic benefits of muscle. You've heard the term muscle burns more than fat, which is true. So when you have a higher muscle mass, you have a higher resting metabolic rate. So you're burning more calories at rest when you have more muscle mass. And part of the age-related decline in metabolic rate has to do with age-related loss of muscle mass. But that's not where the benefits stop. Did you know that muscle strength is related to longer life, and not only longer life, but longer health span? So that means being able to be healthy later into life, being able to do the things you want to do, and it's just associated with greater quality of life. On top of that, it's also associated with benefits in cognitive function. Better brain function as we age is related to having good, strong muscle mass. There are benefits in injury prevention, and there's also benefits in preventing many chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is the benefits with strength training come from the role that muscle plays in managing glucose levels in your blood sugar, in glucose metabolism. So there are so many benefits to having muscle. And then on top of that, muscle mass with bone density, so strong bones, strong muscles, help combat age-related frailty. So lower risk of fractures, lower risk of injury are all parts of the benefits of maintaining muscle mass and bone mass over time. So why do we talk about this specifically starting in our 40s? 40 doesn't feel very old. I don't feel old. I'm in my mid 40s. However, let's just talk about muscle building over time, just the natural trajectory of muscle. So when we're born, from the time that we're born till the time that we're 30, we are generally, just the general public, generally building muscle over time, regardless of whether you're strength training. If you're strength training, you're working towards more muscle. If you're athletic and active, you're working towards more muscle. But anyone just living daily life is building muscle over time up until they're about 30, and that's where it really peaks. And then this is where you start to see the real difference over time because it starts to decline. Even as early as 30, 35 years old, we start to see age-related decline. This is for men and women. Well, what happens to women when we turn 40? We start to hit some hormonal changes that impact this even more. So when we start to hit perimenopause, our hormones fluctuate. We might feel a little crazy, but there's other things that are at play here. And that is, as our estrogen starts to drop, for women, estrogen is what helps build the muscle, helps maintain muscle mass, and also helps maintain bone density. So those are two key things where we're going to start to see an even bigger decline for women as we hit our 40s and beyond. So now that I have depressed you a little bit with that thought, so we're going to start to see where strength training is so important going forward. It's the number one tool that you have to combat age-related muscle mass and muscle loss and bone loss. So if we don't start to do something about this age-related muscle loss and bone loss, the risks are really going to start to add up. And so that's where strength training comes to play. Strength training is your new best friend. When you're strength training, you're preventing that muscle loss, you're preventing that bone loss, you're also improving joint mobility by getting your joints moving and doing those weight-bearing exercises in a healthy and a progressive way, you are going to be improving joint mobility, you're going to be improving your bone density and improving your muscle mass. How can you get started? If you're someone who has never done any strength training before, it can be overwhelming. And I don't want to throw something at you where you feel like you have to overhaul your life today. But there are simple ways to get started. If you think about strength training as a progressive path, then when you start out, you can start out doing body weight movements. And when I talk about movements, I'm talking about 5 key movement patterns that you're going to focus your workouts around. Number 1 is the squat. So I'm not talking about big back squats with bars on your back. Maybe you can build up to that if that's a goal that you have. But I'm talking about simply starting out with the chair that you're sitting on and practicing sitting and standing. And then you can move from that into just a body weight squat. So as you build your way up, there are progressions. But starting out, you can just do body weight squats. Doing 10 body weight squats on a day is better than doing no body weight squats. So you can start your morning, wake up, do some body weight squats. The second pattern is called a hinge. So you have the squat pattern where you're bending your knees. It's like you're sitting down in a chair. And then there's also this hinge pattern, which is more like you're kind of bending over to tie your shoe, or you're bending over to pick something up. That you're going to use more of a hinge pattern where you're bending your hips. And to do a hinge pattern, to start, you can just stand a few inches away from a wall or a chair and practice just shifting your hips back until you feel your hamstrings get tight. You want to keep your back straight, shift your hips back, stand back up, squeeze your butt at the top. So that is your second pattern. You have a squat pattern, you have a hinge pattern. This is going to focus on the front side. With your squat, you're going to be working your thighs, the front of your thighs. With your hinge pattern, you're going to be working the back of your legs and your butt. So we're working both sides of the body. The third movement pattern is going to be a pushing pattern. So when you think pushing a heavy box, doing a push-up, that is your pushing pattern. It can be in front of you or it can be above you. So if you're putting a suitcase in an overhead bin, you're doing a pushing pattern overhead. So an easy way to start with this one is to find a wall, lean against it. If you've never done a push-up in your life, place your hands about chest height in front of you and just do a push-up against the wall. You can progress that to doing something called an incline push-up where you go against a couch or a bench, something really sturdy, and you do a push-up there. So you're raised a little bit. It's not as full as a push-up on the floor. The fourth pattern is going to be what? The opposite of a push is going to be a pull. And when you think about rowing, if you're rowing a boat, you're doing a pull pattern. And so you can get 2 water bottles, 2 cans, any sort of small weight that you have. You can hinge forward and you can just use those weights and pull, release, pull, release. So you're going to get that rowing pattern. So now we're working the chest and we're working the back with our pushing and our pulling. You can also do overhead pulling. It's a little easier to do if you have something like a resistance band, but you can also just grab a towel, create tension, pull down. The fifth pattern. Now this one is one that you do quite a bit if you're ever carrying your groceries. It's called a carry pattern. So you are holding something at either side. You're having to stabilize everything with your core. You're working on your grip strength. It's called a carry. And so the easiest way to practice this is just carrying your groceries, holding the groceries out on either side, and slowly walking and doing that for 20 or 30 seconds. Okay, so I've shared with you some of the movement patterns that you want to do. And as you can see, they're really simple. You're doing these movement patterns. And when you start out, you can start out, even if you do them once a week, that's going to be better than having never done them. And so if that's all you have in you to do once a week, do 10 squats, 10 hinges, 10 pushes, wall push-ups, 10 rows, and then getting something to hold on either side and doing a carry for 20 seconds. That's one round. You've done it. Start your habit doing that. And then build from there. But all you need really is over time, building up to 2 times per week, you're going to start to see the benefits of this strength training over time. And then you can start to add weight, you can start to progress over time. So we're not talking about a complete overhaul of your life. Spend 5-10 minutes every day, 5-10 minutes a couple times a week doing this, and build it up. So as with everything that I share, we're not talking about like a complete dramatic overhaul, and we're also not talking about perfection. One of the key things that I run into a lot with the people that I work with is that you think you have to overhaul, you have to do everything all at once, and then you start it and then you fall off because it's too much. But if you start small, we're looking at consistency over perfection. So just consistently pick a day that you're going to do these movements and start to build that over time. So you can't stop the clock. You can't stop aging, but you can combat some of these age-related declines in your muscle mass and your bone mass. And strength training is your number one friend. So try out some of these patterns, some of these tips that I gave you, and let me know how it goes. If you need a little more help or you just want some guidance on how to do, check out my programs that I've linked below. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. Thanks for joining me on Healthy Habits, Stronger You. Remember, every new habit that you build is a step toward building a stronger and healthier future you. I'll see you next time.